In today's video, I'm going to teach you how to explain a large gap in your resume in a job interview, or if you are coming into the workforce again now after a long period of being out of the workforce, I'm going to teach you how to address that as well. Let's go. Now, this is actually something that applies to a lot of people. Maybe you were out taking care of a sick relative or a loved one. Maybe you started a family and now you are just re-entering the workforce. There are a variety of reasons why someone might be encountering this situation in a job interview, and it's important that you're prepared to talk to that so that it is not an obstacle to you getting hired. Now, some of you are wondering, hey, why is it an obstacle in the first place? Why are we even talking about this, Ben? Good question. So as someone who has been in talent acquisition, recruitment, and hiring for the last 13 years, I can tell you that a big portion of all interviewing that takes place is risk mitigation, making sure that you don't make a wrong hire. And when people see on your resume that you've been out of the workforce for a long time, it does raise a little bit of a concern. And unless you're prepared to properly address it, a hiring manager or an HR person or a recruiter is going to look at that and go, I'm a bit concerned about this, let's go with another candidate. But if you can address it appropriately, it will not be a hurdle. Now, I mentioned that a lot of hiring managers might be concerned. So they're mainly concerned about two reasons. When they see a big gap in your resume, whether that was previously or if you were just now getting back into the workforce after being absent for a while, they're concerned about two things. One, have your skills been kept up to speed, right? Is your sword still sharp? Are you still ready to execute the role at a high level? That's concern number one. Concern number two is, will you leave the workforce again? Will you start with them? Will they invest in you? Will they train you? And then all of a sudden you decide, for whatever reason, now you're going to exit the workforce again. You've done it previously, so you have the ability to do it potentially, or you might have the interest in doing that. So they want to make sure they're not investing in someone who might decide a month from now, 6 months from now, 15 months from now, I'm gonna go back and exit the workforce long-term. So these are the two principal addresses, or two principal concerns that we're going to need to address in the interview process. So when will you need to address this? Odds are it happens one of two ways. One, they're going to ask you a question that gives you an opportunity to address this. What has you interested in this role? Why did you leave your most recent role? Something like that. And that is going to provide you with the opportunity to address it head on. And believe me, you do want to address it. You don't want to leave it left unsaid. That will not benefit you. So you do want to address it. I'm going to teach you how in a minute. Or you might just be able to bring it up in a different scenario. Maybe they say, tell me about yourself, or maybe you're answering a different question and you see an opportunity to inject your story into this so that you can address it before they ask the question. Now let's talk about how you go about addressing it in a positive way that will get you past this being a potential hurdle to you landing a job. Now I'm gonna give you an actual example about how you can go and address this. So I'm gonna pretend as if I'm a candidate and I'm gonna talk through an actual example of what you might say to address this in a job interview. But I want you to listen for a few things I'm going to cover, because I think it's really important to address a few things and cover a few things while you're giving your explanation. One, it was hard for you to leave the workforce. No matter what it was you did, right? Whether it was taking care of a parent, whether it was starting a family, whether it was traveling abroad for a gap year, whatever it is that you did, you want to make sure they know that it was not easy for you because you enjoy working, learning, and contributing. Okay, now the second thing that you want to do is you want to explain to them that you did things during this period to keep yourself ready to re-enter employment. That it was always part of the plan for you to re-enter, and as such, you wanted to make sure that you kept your skills sharp. Now, obviously you can only say this if you did this, but if there was anything you did in terms of like reading articles about people leadership or team dynamics, or you were doing something to work on your skills while you're out, whatever it was, you always intended to come back, and here's what you did in the meantime to make sure you were ready when you did come back to contribute immediately. The third thing you need to accomplish when you're explaining it is that you are truly excited to get back and you have no intention of leaving the workforce again in the future anytime soon or anytime in general, right? If you could accomplish these things, you're going to address their main concerns. Their main concerns being, one, your skills aren't up to snuff or you haven't kept them sharp, and two, that you might leave again or in a short period of time, decide to exit the workforce again. So if you can do those three things, you're gonna do it successfully. So let me give you the example. A few years ago, I unfortunately made a really tough decision that I was gonna have to exit the workforce to take care of a sick parent. And that was really hard for me because I really enjoyed what I did. I enjoyed my company, my team, my role, my responsibilities. It was really fulfilling to me, but it was something at that time in my life I had to do. Now that that's resolved, I am really excited to get back into the workforce, and I'm really motivated to join a great team again and be with a company for the long haul. So I'm excited to get my career back on track. I really enjoy being in recruitment, so I can't wait to get back to that. During the time I was off, although I was taking care of a sick parent, I did keep up with trends in the industry. So that when I was ready to re-enter, I would be able to contribute immediately. So I am really excited. And I'm excited specifically about this role because I feel like it would be a great fit for my skill set. Now you see there, I addressed a bunch of those things, right? I talked about how it was hard for me to leave. I left for a reason that at the time made sense. That's no longer a concern. I'm excited to get back. I kept my skills sharp and I'm motivated to join a team, a company, and cherry on top here, I said this role is a great fit for me and this company is a great fit for me. If you can do all those things in an interview and you can do it convincingly, you should be able to make sure it's not a huge obstacle to getting hired. I would also say practices. Like take the time to practice, make it feel natural for you. So make it your own, remix it. But if you can do this effectively, it shouldn't be a giant hurdle to you, explaining why you were out of the workforce. Now that explanation is going to be great, but that's not going to be enough. You're still going to need to outperform others in the interview process. So I want you to watch this video. This video right here gives you some of the tips that I recommend people follow so they can outperform 97.5% of other candidates. Was that an arbitrary number or did I just specifically have one? You'll have to watch this to know.